What's happening, everybody? 10:02 on the fan. It's the Tiki and Tierney Show. What's good? Last full week, Teak. Last full week without baseball. Opening day. Next Thursday.
That's right. I was like, what are you talking about?
That's right.
Never know where your mind is going.
Mine's everywhere. Mine's on St. John's and Pitino. Mine's on the NCAA tournament. Mine is on baseball. Mine is on the Knicks. All right, so the Knicks have navigated this little wobbly lull, which I think rattled the confidence of many, not me. You know I believe in this team. To the point here, Teak, and it's really good to see Brunson back and stabilize this thing. The Nets have lost a couple. Knicks have won a couple in a row. So the Knicks look pretty, I won't say locked in yet. There's 10 games to go, but fairly confident they're going to be in the 5 spot, which means they're playing the Cavs, okay? Now, you know, and the season's been really, really good. I mean, they could win 50. They won't. But if they would have played better to start, they would have won 50. It's a different team. Rotation, we know that. The Knicks have to win. Forget about the Eastern Conference Finals for a moment. The Knicks must win a round. Otherwise, all this good stuff doesn't mean anything.
But why? Why does it feel?
Because it would invalidate what they've done so far. There's a point where you need a little signal of optimism, like when you're just starting to climb a little. And I know that they're just starting to climb, but there's a point when it becomes too real during the season, as for me it has, that anything other than minimally a first-round advance, and this season has meant nothing to me.
So it's interesting because when I think about this Knicks team, I don't want to say no expectation, but I had no idea that they would be a top 4 or 5 seed this year. I didn't think that. I know Jalen Brunson coming, but it still felt flawed. It still felt like, okay, but Jalen Brunson is somewhat proven in, 20 games with Dallas last year when Luka was banged up, but he's not an elite scorer. He's not a superstar. What's he gonna actually do? This is before the season.
Yep.
And then the season gets going, and it's just, I don't know, it's ugly. It's inconsistent. It's 12, 15, not really, but you know what I mean? It was like 12-man rotations going on. And guys, you're wondering if Derrick Rose is going to get playing time some of these nights that they were throwing out a product. And it felt so bad early. And then it slowly started to morph into something that looked cohesive. Mm-hmm. There was ball movement. I was like, man, are we watching the Golden State Warriors? You see Jalen Brunson evolving into a star. You see Julius Randle looking like Julius Randle from his All-NBA season during the pandemic a couple seasons ago. And then it felt like, all right, the steps have been made. And then all of a sudden, it was like, snap of a finger. And it was probably by you, by the way. The snap of the finger, this team is supposed to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. You know what I mean? So to me, it's already been a climb. And I think that's worth building upon, even if they get to the postseason and fall short. I think it's the lack of urgency. I don't feel an urgency like some other Knicks fans feel to go do something this season. And so
I know what you mean.
And so it's a building block that I didn't expect at all.
Yep.
At the beginning of the season and for the first third of the season, I didn't think it was possible for them to be where they are right now. So it's already a huge win simply because it feels stable. Nobody's talking about firing Tom Thibodeau right now. Nobody's talking about, if we don't have any stars on this team. Yeah, you do. You got a couple of good ones, right? Randall's going to be All-NBA again.
Yep.
Right? And
so is Brunson, by the way.
Brunson might be All-NBA as well. So to me, the block, like the foundation has been hammered into the ground, and it feels good, regardless of what happens in the postseason.
Okay, so I do agree with this, Teak. There's different types of urgencies here. There's the urgency. Let me take the Mets for a moment. So and by the way, good news on Nimmo. That you see that, you got to be kidding me when you saw him slide into second over the weekend. So that looks very, very good compared to what we thought it may have been. So good for Nimmo, good for the Mets. But you look at the Mets and their 2 aces, right? Both guys basically 40. There's urgency there, all right? Mets got to crack through in the next year or so and really win big. You look at Aaron Rodgers coming to the Jets eventually.
39 years old.
Yep.
There's urgency.
Even though the rest of the Jets roster is ascending and young and the contracts mesh and blah, blah, the guy's 39. So there's a real amount of urgency. So there's that pressing urgency, but then there's perceptual urgency. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that much for everybody, but it does for me. You talk about cohesion. Yes, there's great cohesion with this team, but I also think that there's great sustainability. Like, there's certain teams that are kind of thrown together. I'll give you a good example there. Maybe like the 2015 Jets. Let's say they win that game up in Buffalo instead of losing. That team was opportunistic if they would have won. Fitzpatrick, Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, but that wasn't sustainable because their best players were older. That's not the case with the Knicks. I know what you mean, that even if the Knicks got punked in round 1 to the Cavaliers, you can make you can convince yourself on an intellectual level pertaining to the sport that it's fine, and I'll just use the word fine because there's a long runway, the tarmac. But yet no. In the NBA, I've learned even with that sport, I don't care about next year. Now, it's never going to be like the NFL, which literally is a year-to-year proposition. But the NBA's changed too. I mean, think about this. Like that. The Celtics suddenly don't feel like they're going to win a championship. Who feels that way? Nobody. Matter of fact, they've got the same record as the Sixers right now. They might not even get they might even drop in seed. So all this nonsense is, and I shouldn't say all this stuff about the Knicks are young, the Knicks are this, they got picks, this guy's 25, that's great. Win a series. Otherwise, I'm not impressed. I'm sorry.
And here's the other thing, though. I also feel like they're going to win a series.
Oh, me too.
I feel like Cleveland they match up well against Cleveland. The challenge will be what happens after that. I mean, we talked about 3 weeks ago, this team's going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if they get matched up against Milwaukee, that's their big stumbling block because Boston's fallen. I think Philly is beatable. The one team that you're scared of is the Milwaukee Bucks in the East right now, and the Knicks.
I wouldn't even use the word scared, but I got you. Definitely different stratosphere.
It just feels like they're at the level where they can win a championship. Well, they have can win a championship, and the Knicks clearly aren't there yet. But again, who the hell knows what's going to happen? Come this season. But my bigger point is that the Knicks have done something that I haven't seen them do in a really long time, which is build a team, and there's still things that they can do. It's not like, oh, we've maxed out, we've hit our ceiling, and we just got to really fight to try to be relevant. They've built a team that's a foundation, and they still have so much that they can still do. And that's what's exciting for me. It's not necessarily about win a playoff series this year, get to the Eastern Conference Finals, compete for an NBA title. It's less about that, and it's more about keep this slow train moving. At some point, you're going to hit a downhill, and it's going to be really easy, right? The last thing you want to do is take a shortcut, try to cut through the mountain. So I really like where this Knicks team is, and so the urgency isn't there for me. But I understand why it is for some other people.
All right. 877-337-6666 is the number. Hopefully everybody had an awesome weekend. We'll do a little FDU later. Shout out to the Knights there. It was a great run. Not as long as St. Peter's, but equally fun. We're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio as well. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guarantee lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Now, you talk about use the word foundation. I agree. There is a very promising foundation for these New York Knicks. They've got a boatload of picks. They have cap integrity. They've got a couple of players who are in their prime, one of whom I think is just entering it in Brunson, and is a legit difference maker. So I know what you mean, all right, when you talk about this bigger picture item, but why I think they'll certainly win the first round, and why I need to see it, because a loss would on some level invalidate their foundation. Like if here's what I'm saying, you can't. I'm just talking about to the Cavaliers, not the Bucks or beyond. If you can't beat that team, who is beatable, then
young, up and coming, interesting, but beatable.
Then what are we doing here? I mean, okay, great. I mean, it's terrific that Randle's 28 putting up sick numbers, but if the duo of Brunson and Randle can't elevate this team to a round one win, why are we so excited about the future? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
they need to prove, we prop them up and we show them love and they've earned it. But now you got to win at least a round.
Yeah, the bigger picture is more interesting to me because I I actually now believe that Tom Thibodeau can take this team where it needs to go at some point.
I'm not so sure I agree with that.
So,
you talking about a championship?
No,
Obviously.
well, just progression.
Oh,
growth.
okay, but progression.
Growth.
Okay.
Well,
he's already done that.
Teaching the team how to play the right way.
He's done that.
Keeping guys unselfish.
He's done that.
Getting guys out of whatever mental funk they happen to be in. Like, we've seen all these things.
He's done that.
And so, but there was a point a year ago today, season-wise, everybody wanted Tom Thibodeau fired. Everybody. If you were a Knicks fan, you're like, this guy's not going to do it. He's not a bad dude. It is what it is. He just maybe has an inferior roster. He's not the answer. That's not the question anymore. The question is about how do we get a star or another superstar, another elite scorer. How do you keep building upon what you've done? And we're not questioning Leon Rose anymore. We're not questioning Julius Randle anymore, right? Maybe there are some still questions, but there's not a ton like there used to be. And I think that's a positive that you just haven't seen consistently for the Knicks in a lot of years.
I got you, and I think everything that you just said is absolutely right. I'm not going to fight you on that, Teague, but where I will push back is this. Let me use Randle as the example, right? So Randle is now in the middle of his prime,
yes.
Okay? And with that being known and the numbers and the stats and the production being the numbers and the stats and the production, there's got to be a level of achievement that is eventually commensurate with how we position a certain team. And I think we're having two different discussions here. One would be, the overall perception of a team that wins around and then is building, okay? But the other part, and maybe this is more directly the bigger point, it like Randle, can they win playoff series with Randle doing what Randle does for this team?
I think they can.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But
you're
that
saying
is an unknown.
You're saying they have to.
That's what I mean. Like, if they lose in 5 or just lethargic like that, which I don't see that at all. But if the next series, whomever they play in round 1, assuming it's Cleveland, represents and feels and looks similar to how they looked against the Hawks a couple of years ago, then there is no energy for this team. Because now you're just fooling yourself.
Yeah.
This group of players, they need to prove that they can win around. For me.
Yeah, we know that they're good. We know that they're viable at some point in the future. We know that they have good players. They know they're gonna keep building on good players. But proving it in the postseason is all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if we were sitting here and the roster was like R.J. Barrett, year 2, 20 years old, and quickly, a first-year guy, and Mitchell Robinson a couple of years ago, he's 20, 21 years old, it's a different level of evaluation. We're deeper. I don't think people look at it this way because they still kind of look at the Knicks as a cute story.
As a young, up-and-coming
Stop doing that.
Story.
Stop doing it. Randall's 28. Brunson's in his mid-20s. Played 4 years at Nova. Won a championship. Was outstanding in the playoffs a year ago. Push it forward. That's all I'm saying. And how about this? Do you remember I gave you the stat on Julius Randle last week?
Yes.
Okay. So we've got a little more update here. Listen to this. Listen to this. And because if you don't think Randle should be in the middle of a first-round win or even a second-round win, then what do these numbers mean? Basically nothing. Randle's the first player in NBA history to put up the following numbers in a season. More than 1,800 points, more than 725 rebounds, more than 250 assists, more than 200 three-pointers. Got 10 games to go. So, like a guy like that, again, three-point line came out in 1979, so I get it. So, guys like Oscar Robertson, they didn't have access to this. They're not going to be considered for this because they didn't have the three-point shot.
Not that Oscar Robertson would be taking a bunch of 200 three-pointers.
He might, well, not 200, no,
Yeah.
true. But, yeah, I got you. But when the three-point stripe was introduced, I mean, guys were walking around wearing, 4 buttons open, John Travolta, the hairy chest, the gold chains, the Capizios, or the shoes, whatever they were. Think about what 79 was. It's a long time ago, all right? Studio 54, long time ago. That encompasses a lot of basketball. So to me, I look at that as, partly circumstantial. I'm very bullish on this team. And listen, let me at least separate two thoughts. I said 5 weeks ago that I thought this Knicks team was going to make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, if they don't, that won't disappoint me, okay? I mean, it will as a whatever, but I'll rationalize
you just
it.
believe that could happen.
Yeah,
especially at the time.
But if they lose in round one, I walk away from this season saying failure.
Yeah, and
I just do. And don't tell me, well, they won almost 50 games. Great. If you don't do anything with it, what's it matter?
Yeah, but it
mean nothing.
It's the building blocks.
Yeah, but you got to win a round. I don't want to hear it. You got to win a round.
To me, it
got to win a round.
It almost is going to depend on what it looks like.
Well, it's going to look like the Cavaliers. Go beat them. That's what it's going to look like.
If they lost the first round, what it looks like.
Oh, you mean optically,
do they get swept? Right? Do they? And if that, then I might agree with you. But if this thing goes down to, deciding game, and I don't know, the Cavs just have Donovan Mitchell scoring 50, averaging 50 over the course of the series, you just got to tip your hat. So to me, it depends on how it looks, because the foundation feels right for the first time in a long time for the Knicks. That's what I hang my hat on when I watch the Knicks. First of all, they're entertaining as hell. They have the right players that can make the right plays. I mean, hell, they were down by 13 on Saturday against one of the best teams in the West. And who
they've swept this year.
Exactly.
They beat them out there as well.
They just kind of kept themselves loose, calm, took care of business when it mattered.
Yep.
Right? So this team has the right foundation. Maybe they are on paper and still a little bit inferior than the best in the NBA, but that doesn't scare me, because they kept all their assets. And we're telling them to trade and get this guy, give away that pick. We don't need all those picks. They still got them, and they're playing a better brand of basketball.
It's funny because we are coming at this from very different places. Obviously, as much as we talk Yankees and Mets and football, I mean the Knicks. I mean, I can make the very easy case, along with St. John's, from just a all-encompassing New York City basketball point of view. That is as much fuel as my sporting fandom as anything out there, and I'm obviously more of a baseball guy. That's what I played from that point of view. But in terms of my fandom, in terms of my childhood, and the Knicks they're not second to anybody. Put it that way. So I'm looking at it certainly rationally as a grown man who does this for a living, but also those emotions of my childhood flickering. I get that. You are completely without emotion. You're looking at it more conventionally.
Yes,
I think. But I actually think,
I didn't grow up the fan.
No, I get it. But I think we're both a little wrong here. I really do. Because I think that you're wrong and that wrong's not the right word.
Yeah.
But I'll just use it for now. I think we're both wrong. You're wrong.
I'm erring in my evaluation.
Yeah, the lack of disappointment or ire or negative energy or visceral reaction for a first round exit. To me, that would be coming too short. And for many, or for some, me pushing this thing to the conference finals is obviously going a little bit in the different direction. The answer's probably somewhere in between, but you got to win a first round. This team has it. They are supposed to win. I'll say 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. Yep, we wait on Rick Pitino. We wait on Rick. Trying to send him over a bottle of red, a little grappa last night after dinner. I couldn't find the restaurant. So I do think we get the answer on Rick, certainly by tomorrow. I think there's a possibility tonight. It is not a done deal. Understand that. You never know what could happen in the world of big business. Just take that for what it's worth, meaning there could be others who jump in last second. They ain't done. But it's certainly very, very interesting, and I do think it will happen.